Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 2021 My Driver Career Mode here on the channel. Hope you're all having a great day today. We head to Sao Paulo here for the Brazilian GP, a very exciting one of my favorite tracks on this schedule here. So hypes were high coming into this GP weekend. Now, of course, with the Aston Martin team, we're lacking a little bit lately here in the R&D departments. Now, as you can see, the AlphaTauri has made a big leap forward. They have actually gotten ahead of both of us and Ferrari, and now are considered to be the fourth best team in the R&D. So we'll see what effect that has for that team coming into this GP, as we continuously see Lando Norris's championship lead decreasing to Lewis Hamilton as well as Valtteri Bottas and even Sergio Perez. But Perez, a bit of a long shot here. At this point, he's going to need a miracle if he really wants to win the championship here in his final season in Formula 1 before he retires. No idea who, of course, is going to replace Perez at Red Bull next season, but very excited for that, as well as there's only 3 races remaining after today's Brazilian GP, and that's Australia as well as Saudi Arabia and Jeddah, and then we head to, of course, the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Now, next season we might be looking at a slightly shortened season, and I think there's like an option to do 16 races or something like that. We might shorten it to that and then go back to the full season length the season after, and that'll actually probably be one of the final seasons of this F1 2021 career mode, depending, of course, on when F1 2022 launches, which I would expect late June, maybe early July. But practice went well. We would jump through into qualifying here. Now, we had good pace, and I was feeling pretty confident in this car. It was raining at the beginning of qualifying, and I didn't make any laps until the end of Q1 because it would dry up before the conclusion of Q1, so I just waited till then before I made a lap here. Now, I threw on the soft compound tire, and we should be able to make it, of course, no problems into that second qualifying session here now. But I actually got caught up behind Charles Leclerc and had a bit of a moment with him here. Now, as you're gonna see, I actually had my lap completely destroyed right there. He's not letting me go. My lap was terrible. I backed it off. I still went P2 for the time being, but everybody else was now setting their first lap on soft tires. But here was a curveball. Lando Norris, he had stayed in the pit lane. Lando Norris, currently P1, is in the pits. He has not come out on the track, and he didn't for the rest of this session. We cross the line. We make it into Q2. Lando Norris eliminated, the championship leader eliminated in Q1. He will start dead last on the grid, as it says he was on the soft compound tire. His lap was originally, I believe, on the soft compound tire, but it was really early when the rain had stopped, and that's why he was so much further off from everybody else. So a huge mistake there from the McLaren driver and team with Norris behind the wheel. So we come through though into Q2, and everything had dried up and the sun was starting to come out here. Clouds were getting out of here, and my first lap was decent, but it wasn't good enough. So I had to set a second attempt here to get into Q3 for the top 10 shootout, and unfortunately it was better, but it wasn't good enough. I would come through to cross the line briefly and go P10, but that would be the best it would get, because right here I try to make another lap here, hope I can find something, but I make a mistake right there, lose grip, and kick the back end out, and we end up actually dropping to P13. So Vettel makes it into Q3, and once again, late in the season, we miss another Q3. Let's head to the grid here in Brazil.
Welcome along then to the place where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner. And it's the place, a year later, that Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's Interlagos, and it's time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if, of course, the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. Alongside me once again for coverage of today's race, it's none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Let me ask you about Aston Martin. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Yuki Tsunoda completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Perez, Max Verstappen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Russell, Gasly, the rookie, Latifi, and Callum Islet. Sainz, they've taken a grid penalty. Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc and Stroll. Vettel, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Giovinazzi and Guan Yu Zhou and Mick Schumacher. Norris and Esteban Ocon rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
There you saw the grid, and now we are ready to go lights out here in green in the Brazilian GP. The formation lap would get underway. We do gain some spots because there is quite a bit of grid position penalties for a bunch of these drivers, including our teammate of Sebastian Vettel. Lando Norris only gained one spot. He's still at the back of the grid there in what, P19 I think is said here now, as we are ready to go lights out. Yuki Tsunoda up in the mix here. We know AlphaTauri's made improvements, but I didn't realize that there were improvements to get them right up there in the mix. It's 5 red lights here. Now as we're ready to go green in Brazil, it's going to be lights out in Lewis Hamilton, Yuki Tsunoda, Bottas, Verstappen, Perez all up there in the mix here. Down into turn 1, Hamilton comfortably out in front over Tsunoda there, as you see Perez putting the attack immediately on Valtteri Bottas. Those two trying to make up as many points as possible today. They have a huge opportunity, and so does Lewis Hamilton, considering Lando Norris starts at the back. He might not even get points today, depending on what happens, but we know he has a car capable, of course, of getting into the points, so we'll see how far Lando is able to work his way up through the field here. Still side by side between Perez as well as Bottas through the right-hander. Now Bottas back, so Perez will take over the third position. Verstappen up the inside of one of the Alpines right there here as he's trying to get a move on with it. He's won the last 2 GPs. The defending champion won all season long without winning, and then in Circuit of the Americas, and then in the last episode in the Mexican GP, he finally went to the top step of the podium for the first 2 times. Myself, on the other hand, I didn't have a very good start here to start this GP. Now I actually lost about 2 to 3 positions here going down into turn 1 and 2 and whatnot, so wasn't the start I was looking for. On the bright side, we kept the car clean and in one piece, so that was one of the benefits of me giving up a few positions there. Now as you continue to see Lando Norris trying to work his way through, he's already gained a few positions on the original start. Hamilton and Tsunoda well off out in front of Perez as well as Bottas here, so I'm just in behind Carlos Sainz. So you see, I lost about 3 positions or so. Vettel now just behind myself actually here, as Sainz, he's going to line up a move on the Canadian of Nicholas Latifi in the Williams here as we head down into that left-hander, and it looks like it's going to be Sainz prevailing, but no, they're going to continue side by side here through this narrow, very sketchy high-speed section here. Sainz is going to prevail. I'm going to follow through and get alongside Latifi. He leaves me no room. We make contact and we go spinning here through the grass, and we are around, and we're going to give up a whole bunch of track position now as we're going to go all the way to the back of the grid. What a... Not happy over the radio, obviously, there, as I felt like I just got completely squeezed right there on the apex by Nicholas Latifi. I'm hanging on for my life here on grip now. Fortunately, we had a lot of speed in this car, and that was going to show, but I was not happy with Nicholas Latifi, and I was on a mission, really, to just get back to Nicholas Latifi and show him up at this point here now, and that would start with making moves on the Haas drivers of my former teammate of Mick Schumacher. Then the next one would be a fellow Canadian of Lance Stroll, who we replaced here at Aston Martin and sent him to Haas in the first place now. But up front here on lap 10, things were starting to get spicy, though. Tsunoda, Perez have now gotten on to Lewis Hamilton. They're going to go 3 wide briefly there, down into turn 4, I believe that was, and all of a sudden Hamilton is down to 3rd place, and Tsunoda is checking out, and now Perez, he's at the disadvantage here as we head down into the right-hander. Who's going to back out? It's going to be Perez, and Hamilton stays comfortably in 2nd. Here comes Valtteri Bottas now up the inside, and Perez might actually lose a few positions here all of a sudden, as now he's going to back up to his teammate of Max Verstappen if Bottas is able to prevail through, and it looks like, yes, Bottas is going to have the advantage right there, and he will move up into P3. Perez drops down into P4. Lots of chaos going on here in this GP. When you remember in the last episode in the Mexican GP, it was a surprisingly chaotic GP without any safety cars, virtual safety cars, and whatnot. And so far, no safety cars here today now as I would go around Nicholas Latifi's teammate here of Antonio Giovinazzi. We've had a few run-ins with him in the past, but we get past him comfortably, and then we would try to run down Nicholas Latifi here. Now as Lewis Hamilton, he comes into the pit lane. He's going to bring Ricciardo and Gasly and our teammate of Sebastian Vettel all in with him, and you see see a very common trend here. Everybody going from the soft to hard compound tire here as well. George Russell in there. And then I had run down our good friend now of Nicholas Latifi, who we had a run in earlier with. Now you can see how much better I'm able to get through here than he is. And I'm going to send one up the inside here. We're going to make contact with Latifi, and he does wing damage there to the right front end plate. And that is going to be catastrophic to the handling of his car. And I felt like, to be honest, he kind of came over on me. I have no idea what he's trying to do. I was clearly there. No wing damage to myself, thankfully. I felt like that one really wasn't my fault either, but you guys be the judge of that there in the comments section. But now Bottas, Tsunoda, as well as Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, they were all in to make their pit stops there onto the hard compound tire. But Lewis Hamilton had actually got stuck behind a Williams of Antonio Giovinazzi, and he is now going to be leading because he's now being forced 3 wide down into turn 1 with Daniel Ricciardo and the mixing Gasly just behind as well. What a scrap we're seeing here. And Hamilton is still behind the Williams of Giovinazzi. And you're going to see Bottas and Tsunoda come out way in front, and there's Hamilton now trying to make some moves, but it's not going to work because now he's under attack from Pierre Gasly, and it has just been a meltdown for the Mercedes driver, 7-time world champion, of Lewis Hamilton here, looking for his 8th world championship here now. But I had stayed out longer than everybody. I let Yuki Tsunoda go by, and then at the end of lap 17, I would come in for my first and only pit stop here. But a lot of chaos here in terms of these drivers racing for the championship here today, but overall an actually really clean race so far in the Brazilian GP. So we come in, we're going to put on the medium compound tire. Everybody else pretty much is on the hard compound tire except for Verstappen and Leclerc. They actually went to a soft compound on their first pit stop, so they are looking at a potentially 2-stop strategy, which could mean 2 gain spots for us here relatively soon here now as we would exit the pit lane just behind the Alpine of George Russell. It will be interesting to see where he ends up next season if he remains with the Alpine Racing Team. And sorry, that was Ocon, not Russell, but still we would now make a move on Esteban Ocon now down into turn 1, and we move up back into the 13th position and try to run down the next few drivers. Sebastian Vettel would actually end up having a mechanical issue, and he would drop down to P12, and he was only 5 seconds ahead at this point, so I was really quickly running him down for the 12th position here now as Aston Martin was trying to find a solution to that mechanical issue going on with our teammate as quick as they possibly could now. But things would get spicy with now as Leclerc and Verstappen would come into the pits, so I would be up into P11, just 1 spot shy of points in this recovery drive, of course, after our lap 2 incident. And then just 1 lap later, I would be all over the back of my teammate of Vettel, who just had no pace whatsoever with that mechanical issue, and I would just breeze right by him here on this medium compound tire and take over the final spot in the points. But then things would get a little bit more spicy with Pierre Gasly, who's running up towards the podium positions. He would go way wide and actually spin himself out of control, and he would drop down to about P5 and then eventually P8 when he got the car recovered and going once again. So he went from a podium on the podium as well with his teammate of Tsunoda to now P8, and Tsunoda was still leading this GP comfortably in front of Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo, everybody for that matter here now, as I am all over the back diffuser here of George Russell trying to make the overtake on him and move up into now 9th place. What a recovery drive we have had. Verstappen and Leclerc, they would all as well get past Sebastian Vettel, who was still struggling with that mechanical issue. So nonetheless though, we go up the inside of Russell, we make the pass, we take P9, and that was really the last eventful thing that would end up happening in this Brazilian GP here. Now as Tsunoda, it was down to him. Can he hold on to the victory here in the Brazilian GP? Bottas about 1.5 seconds behind him, not much, but it was enough because we come through to start the final lap here in Sao Paulo here. What a recovery drive we made. I was actually really satisfied with the 9th place finish considering the cards we were dealt there on that lap 2 incident, but it was Yuki Tsunoda, and not by luck, by pure pace, would win the Brazilian GP for the first time in his Formula 1 career, and no one saw that coming into this episode, not even myself. And here he is on the top step of the podium. Bottas, Ricciardo on the podium as well. Hamilton, Perez, they most importantly beat Norris, who still has a great rebound to P7. We come through to cross the line inside the points with a great rebound drive of our own and end up here in the 9th position. Very happy with that, and of course Lando Norris is going to end up getting driver of the day. Let's head to the podium for the celebrations.
Brilliant stuff from AlphaTauri today. What a superb victory. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
But they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
And it's time now for the podium celebrations, and how well deserved is this one? This is a team all about giving talented young drivers an opportunity to race and to win. AlphaTauri are your winners here today.
There you have the post-race celebrations here. Up on the top step of the podium is Yuki Tsunoda. Now, I am very happy to see him finally get to that top step of the podium, but we did not expect to see AlphaTauri have that kind of pace. If Pierre Gasly didn't have his spin, he probably would have been P3 instead of Ricciardo, but of course it worked out differently, and unfortunately for Gasly now, my teammate and I, Sebastian Vettel, were only separated by one single point with 3 GPs remaining here now. And you see, most importantly, the driver standings, the top 3 are separated by just 12 points. Hamilton, Bottas, they're there, and Perez is still within mathematical reach, but is definitely going to need the front 3 in front of him to at least have one DNF here in these next 3 GPs to really give him a realistic possibility. But don't completely write Perez off yet. We are close to writing him off, but not 100% for sure yet here. But still, realistically, a 3-driver race, but could end up being a 4-driver race here for this title. It's getting closer and closer as the episodes go on, and now we just have Australia, Saudi Arabia, and Abu Dhabi. So if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. In the next one, we head to the Australian GP where things could really be set to kick off. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day, everybody.